Everybody, Megruller 31 back here for FSI DFS. I'll be covering the 7-game slate for Labor Day. Hopefully you guys have had a good weekend with family and friends and one more day to party responsibly until it's back to school and back to reality for all of us. We have a 7-game slate, and it's actually a day slate. It's similar to the Sunday slate, so we'll start at 105. All the games are close together, so we should have most of the lineups, which is really nice. On DK, there's a 2-game afternoon slate and then a 3-game evening slate. I think it starts around 6:40 to get all 3 games included in that. At the end of the video, I'll just quickly give you some thoughts on the afternoon and late slate after I do the lineup build for early. Let's look at early. I like the slate. Surprisingly, there's not too much offense to look at, but there's actually some good pitchers, which is kind of the reverse that we've been looking at a lot recently, where we've been struggling to find pitchers and had so many different stacks that we wanted to play. So, and weather looks great. There's not one concern that I see anywhere today. There's some wind blowing out in a few of the parks, so that should help. With a little bit of offense too. Temperatures, it looks like in the 80s most of the games too. So starting first game would be New York Mets and the Washington Nationals. You have Trevor Williams and Patrick Corbin. Trevor Williams, I think if you're looking to go really cheap at a pitcher at 6'9", works. There's nothing really left on this Nationals team besides, we said, like Soto and Bell. I can easily walk them to get around them and just face the rest of the team, strikeouts there. So Williams isn't a super high strikeout pitcher, but I think, he'd probably get you anywhere from 12 to 15 DK points. So definitely viable. But I don't think a priority today with all the other pitchers that we have. Corbin on the other side has really struggled. He's had a good start here and there, but it's been more bad than good. So definitely out on him. Mets would probably be my second favorite offense. I know it's kind of weird to say that, but they've really come together. They've won, a series of games. They're starting to hit. So they get a lefty here. Definitely love the righties here, like Alonso and Baez and Lindor, VR. We'll have to see. Smith is out on bereavement leave, so we'll have to see if he's back in the lineup or not. And I think Nemo is on the IL, so that means Villar might get a chance to lead off, which absolutely perfect there. Washington side of the Bats not interested at all. Trevor Williams isn't a great pitcher, but like I said, even though Soto has a split matchup, we want to take him as one-off, but I think there's better things to do with 6K on this slate. Next game is a very juicy offensive game, which is funny because it's the Kansas City Royals against the Baltimore Orioles. You have Chris Bubic and Zach Lowther. Neither pitcher is great here. Bubic might be a little bit better. I think he could potentially be a GPP play, but Baltimore is a good hitting park. They have a lot of righties that can hit for power, so not interested in either of these pitchers. I don't think you need them on this slate. Definitely like Kansas City. Thinking they'd be my third favorite stack of the day. I know it's just so weird saying the Mets is my second favorite stack and Kansas City is the third. But Merrifield, Perez just keeps on hitting home runs. So even if you don't stack KC and you can pay up in a catcher, like I'd rather play 6K for him over Soto in the context of this slate. So it's kind of hard. I looked at it and I'll talk about it in lineup building to find 5 guys on Kansas City that you absolutely love to stack, even though we're in a great situation. But I think, at least 4 of them, Mayfield, Perez, Mondesi definitely be the priority, and then figuring out who else you want to put in there. On the Baltimore side, I don't think I played Mullins leading off at 5-1. It's a little expensive. He doesn't have the splits advantage. He might later on against the bullpen, but I just and it's always hard on DraftKings because you have to pick between Mountcastle and Mancini. There's a $400 difference. So if that makes a difference, I think they're pretty much even in their potential there. But Hayes at 3.3 is really cheap. And even if you wanted to use him as a one-off Uris, I know he's a little bit banged up. Hopefully he plays shortstop, Santander. So lots of options there. And it's got 10.5 total. Next up, we have the Toronto Blue Jays and New York Yankees, both fighting for the playoff spots. You have the wind blowing out here at 10 miles per hour. You have Ryu and Talon, who are both decent pitchers facing decent offenses. So we really have to see what gives here with this one. I don't know. I don't think I'd touch either pitcher. The offenses, they're my favorite 2 GPP stacks just because you have decent pitchers and yes, you have the wind blowing out, but just their pricing is so expensive. I'd probably lean towards the Yankees just simply because they are a little bit cheaper. You're just looking at the prices on Toronto here, and like Springer's 5K, Simeon 5-1, Blad 5-6, Bo Bichette 5-4. With the pitching that you want on this slate, these stacks just don't make sense. But if you want to, in GPP in a tournament, pay down in pitching and throw these guys out here, then that definitely works. Next up, we have Tampa Bay, and we have the Boston Red Sox. We have Yarborough and Chris Sale. Yarborough just isn't going really deep. I know the lineup that Boston threw out there was just incredibly weak yesterday. And I know they have COVID concerns and they keep on losing people, but the only real scary hitters in it yesterday was like Renfroe, Schwarber, and JD Martinez. Devers wasn't even in the lineup. Dahlbeck's been better recently. He's been moved up in the lineup in like the fifth hole just out of necessity. Verdugo is decent too, but it's a lefty on lefty matchup. But then some of the other guys are thrown out there are just not, even though they might have the splits advantage, I'm not scared of them. So I think Yarborough is viable, but I think out of like the medium range pitchers, I'd rather, if I'm taking a risk, I think I'd rather take on Ryu or Talon, unless Boston throws out the baby sock lineup again. But then again, Yarborough seems to have a short leash. So even if he does get a weak lineup, if he only goes 4 or 5 innings, is he really going to get you that many DK points? You're probably only looking at 10 to 12. Chris Sale on the other side, I believe he just faced this team not too long ago and really didn't have many strikeouts against him, which is kind of surprising because, his last outing was against Tampa Bay and he only had 3 strikeouts. So maybe it was the umpire. Maybe he was just having an off day. He didn't have a horrible game, if I recall. He gave up 2 earned runs, didn't give up any home runs, I don't believe. So, he gave up 1. But anyways, maybe that was just an outlier. I prefer him in the Tampa Bay park instead of this Red Sox park. At 9.9, the price is fair. He definitely has the K upside. He definitely is looking better coming off of the IL after that long layoff with being out with having surgery there. But I don't know. Tampa Bay has been better since they've put Cruz in the lineup. He was a slump, but he's starting to come back into form. Randy Arizona is a really good hitter. Franco has a great on base percentage. So I think he's out of the 4 top pitchers, he's got to be probably number 4 for me. I think he's viable, but I think there's so much upside with the other 3 that I don't know if I'm going to have too much exposure to him, but I'm not saying he's a fade. Bats in this game, I think Tampa Bay is a great leverage stack if people are on sale with their right-handed hitters that they have. Even like it's a great value in the middle of the lineup. Jordan Lupro, if he's hitting 5th, he has some power. He's only 2.7, has a splits advantage. And then the Red Sox, again, you just have to see who the lineup is before you roll them out. So I think they're both GPP lineups, but not really interested in them in the context of the slate. Next up, we have Detroit against Pittsburgh. We have Scoble against Bryce Wilson. I think Scoble is going to be, if people don't pay up for pitching, he's going to be the chalk SP2 on the slate. I think he's going to have very high ownership against this Pittsburgh lineup that's super, super watered down. Bryce Wilson on the other side, I think he's also a fade. He just not really a strikeout pitcher, doesn't go super deep. I don't think he's going to get blown up, but I don't think he's going to get you more than 10 DK points. If you need the 5-6, if you're trying to stack the Toronto Blue Jays or something like that, I think he's viable. I think he's in a better situation, but you do have the wind blowing out here at 12 miles per hour. It is a pitcher's park, so I don't know. I think he's in the conversation, but I think I'd be more of a fade on him. But definitely like Scooble here. I think he opens up a lot if you want to try to get a few bats in, plus pay up for another pitcher. Looking for the teams, Detroit, I think they make a decent cheap stack here. Like Badu, if you want to take him as a one-off, so have a good season. 3.7 is not too bad. So I don't think I'd really worry about the splits with Wilson here. Once you get past him and get to the bullpen, the Pittsburgh bullpen isn't great. Pittsburgh, I think, is pretty much a fade. Maybe a leverage stack if you think like I do, that Skubal is going to be super highly owned, and take some of the right-handed bats and just hope that they put up a decent number against him, and you have super leverage because nobody played them because everybody played Skubal. But that's pretty much for that game. Next, we have the pitchers duel of the evening. We have Zach Wheeler against Brandon Woodruff. Milwaukee is favored in this one, but the line looks like it's going closer to even. So Wheeler, I think, is my favorite pitcher on the slate. I know both of these are probably in the candidate for Cy Young in the NL race, but Wheeler, Philly's fighting to try to get in the playoffs. Milwaukee is 10 or 11 games up on Cincinnati. They're on cruise control. So as I've been saying with the Milwaukee pitchers, is they go out there and they do well, but they get pulled fast because it's load management. Why have them throw extra needless innings if they're up? You have nothing really to play for. So in a close game, it really doesn't matter. And Milwaukee has a very, very good bullpen, so they don't need to keep their starters out there that long. So at 960 is fine. I'm okay playing Woodruff, but I think that he would be my third out of the four. I think he's a little bit safer than Sale in this matchup against the Phillies, but I don't think that he goes as long. Wheeler has a very long leash. He could go 7, 8 innings. They need him out there. The bullpen is not as good. Has had some struggles. Milwaukee's lineup, yes, they can light up and they can hit. I learned that on Saturday night when I made the mistake of playing the St. Louis pitcher. I think it was Lee or the Korean guy, and I should have picked the Milwaukee guy on the other side because Milwaukee got to him and he ended up with -7 points. Had I take, I think it was Lauer from Milwaukee, he had like 40 points. So there was like a 47-point turnaround there. But anyways, Philly, they can hit also. Their lineup is, I know they're still missing people, like Hoskins is out for the year, but they have enough there to get it done. But I'm not really interested in bats at all from this game. Again, if you want to throw them in a dollar leverage stack because you think people are going to be on the pitcher, nobody's going to play these hitters, and that this pitcher is going to have an off night, which anything can happen, then that's fine. But other than that, I'm completely out on bats. Wheeler's my favorite. Woodruff, if you want to pair the two of them, I think that's fine too. But now we're going to come to my second favorite pitcher on the slate, and that's going to be Sonny Gray taking on the Chicago Cubs. The wind is actually blowing in here at 8 miles per hour. So that definitely helps pitching. The Cubs lineup is not that exciting. Ortega has had some home runs. Wendell has been a nice surprise for them. Happ and Contreras are probably the 2 major league players left on this team. And Wisdom is good too, has some power. But collectively, they're not great. They only have a 3.82 total. So I really like Sonny Gray here. I think he's got a floor of 20, could get up to 25. 30 DK points. He could go deep into this game. I think they're definitely going to get the win. Justin Steele on the other side is 6K. I think I'm a fade on him because I really like the Cincinnati Bats, and they're expensive, but I think I can get a decent pitcher and still stack Cincinnati and have a good team. So Cubs Bats on the other side, again, if I wouldn't even call him a leverage stack because I don't think that Sonny Gray is going to have super high ownership. I think people are just going to be driven to Wheeler, Woodruff, or Sale, and then pair them with Skubal. So I can't call it leverage stack, but I can call the Cubs a cheap stack. If you don't think Sonny Gray is going to have a good day and you want to stack them, I'm fine. They're definitely cheap enough to throw in there and then take some stud one-offs from other teams. You can pretty much assemble, like, if you take 3 Cubs, you probably get like 4 really high guys in really great situations, or a 3-man mini stack from, like I say, Kansas City. I don't know if I want a full 5-man. You can put that in there, or Toronto or New York or whatever works for you in your builds. So just to kind of recap, Wheeler's favorite pitcher, Gray would be second. If I could pair the 2 of them, I would definitely try that. Woodruff and Sale, I think, are definitely in the conversation, but they have risk. Woodruff, with how many innings he goes, Sale is against a decent right-handed hitting Tampa Bay team, and he struggled kind of with strikeouts with them last time. Mid-range, I think Skubal is definitely the clear-cut number one in that range, and probably your SP2 if you're not paying up for two. Ryu, Talon are okay, but more GPP, and then Yarbrough I think is risky, even if the Red Sox throw out the baby lineup there because of COVID and not having their full strength. I don't think he goes long enough really to get you a ton of points. Williams, I think, would be my favorite cheap guy, but I prefer Scoble before I pay down that far. Bubic, I think, is interesting. I'm fading Corbin, Wilson, and Steele. I think I'll fade those two. And then Lothar, I'm definitely not interested in for Baltimore. Favorite stacks are Cincinnati, Mets, and Kansas City. For GPP, Toronto, New York, Tampa Bay, and possibly Boston, depending on who they throw out there. Cheap stacks would be Baltimore, Detroit, and the Cubs. And then your leverage stacks would be Tampa Bay against Sale, Philly or Milwaukee against those two elite pitchers. And those are more of a YOLO play. And then Pittsburgh, I think, is the one stack that you're really, really grasping on there. But then again, I think it makes perfectly good sense for leverage if Skubal is going to be the highest owned pitcher of the slate. If everybody picks different guys between the top four, and then Skubal's everybody's SP2. Okay, so let's pull up DK here, and I'll do a quick lineup breakdown for you. Screen share. Okay, so here we have DK, and like I said, I'm really looking at Wheeler up top. And then I would like to get to Sonny Gray. I'm okay if you can, but I think Skubal opens up more, and I really want Cincinnati. So let's move on over. Let's move my toolbar out of the way so it doesn't keep on hitting that instead of what I'm trying to do. Okay, so Cincinnati Bats here. So Castellanos, definitely put him in there. Moustakas, don't want lefty on lefty. Votto, he hasn't hit a home run in 15 games. He's not back on my fade list like he was early in the season, but I don't know if I want to pay 4.8 for him until I see him start hitting the ball out of the yard again. Stevenson, a catcher, don't like paying up, but I think he's definitely been in good form. India, righty lefty matchup, give me him. Suarez, I looked at him too, and he just really, his batting average, I believe, is like below 200. Yeah, 175. So I'm sorry, Suarez, you make sense in the context of the slate and in the stack, but I can't do it. Farmer, yes. So then that leaves you like with maybe Aquino is starting to shield some of these outfielders, but I think I'm just going to go with a four-man stack here. And then I'm going to put in the Mets because this works out really nice for me. Mets being my second favorite stack. So let's bring everybody back up here. Let's filter to the Mets. And Pete Alonso at first base. Lock him in there. Love that play. So then I have a choice at second or third base here. I can take either Villar, or I thought I could take Baez, but can I move India around? No, he's only second base eligible. It's confusing between FanDuel. So anyways, VR it is. And like I said, I think he's going to be leading off. That's perfect. So that leaves me 2-9 for my final two outfield spots, which is good. If you want to get another Met in there, like if Dom Smith is back, that's fine. Pilar might move up in the lineup too. He's a righty against a lefty. I like that also. That will leave you about 3K left for your final guy. You can go back and, you know, there's lots of good guys in this range that you could put in here. Let's see if we really want to go Puntsville here. What happens if I put Gray? Do I have enough to finish the lineup? Yeah, I have 2-3. So there are some punts here that you could throw out into 2-3. There's actually some 2K guys that are decent. So, you know, look around in outfield, see if I can sort of my salary. Nobody's going to really pop out here, but there are definitely some guys, especially some guys on like the Milwaukee who are facing really good pitchers that you could throw in here. But But anyways, it is doable. I prefer Scooble to have 3K left, but if you want Sonny Gray, then that works too. Okay, then let's just look at the KC stack. So if you're trying to go really crazy, and I'll just go extreme wise here with pitchers. If you want to go Wheeler and Sale, they'd be your highest priced pitchers. Kansas City stack, give me Perez, definitely. Mayfield and Mondesi, and then I really have to start thinking here. I don't think Benintendi plays lefty and lefty. O'Hearn, not interested. McBoom might be in there. Santana, he's been better, so I think I can take him at 3K. Olivares, kind of, I think Olivares or Taylor would be the next one. I'd probably go down to Taylor just because he has the speed, but Olivares might hit higher up in the lineup, so he might be the one you want. So if I had to take 5 from Kansas City, that's who it is. And that leaves me 2-7, which is not bad to fill out the rest of your lineup. And that's if you're going extreme and going with both these pitchers here. Like if you want Wheeler and Gray, which is probably a decent combination there, that leaves you a little over 3K for these positions, and there's a lot that you can do here. So really think that this is the way I'm going to go with between stacking like the Mets and Kansas City and Cincinnati on the slate and trying to pay up for the pitchers. But like I said, if you want to play, if you're off today and have time to build more lineups, then throw a Tampa Bay stack out there, throw a Toronto stack out there, throw a New York stack out there with the wind blowing out, and see what happens. Okay, so as promised, if you guys want to stick around for a couple minutes here, I will go over the afternoon slate. So the afternoon slate, we have San Francisco Giants against Kyle Freeland in Coors. So that is definitely going to be lock button right there. You're going to want as many Giants as you possibly can in your lineup. Then you have the Dodgers and the Cardinals, and Max Scherzer pitching. And Scherzer's only 9.5, so that's not bad. So I think what I do for pitchers, I take Scherzer and I take Malacos in the same game, or I think I might even look to find like maybe a reliever or closer or like some other cheap minimum price pitcher that could potentially pitch and throw them in there, because some of these Giants have so much potential to outscore. It is quite possible that some of these Giants in Coors Field could outscore any SP2 that you put on the slate. We've seen that a couple times in these small slates. So I definitely want to get 5 Giants out there against Freeland, and then definitely look at some of the Dodgers to fill in against Miles McCullough there, and maybe a Rocky or so. But I think Gosman's a decent pitcher. I don't really want to try to get Scherzer and Gosman in there. I'd rather go after the Bats, but and Freeland is definitely a no. So for the pitchers, I would take McCullough just for the pricing, because I think he's going to do better than Freeland. Gosman would be my second one just because it is Coors. And the pricing, I would not play Freeland. I would look for a reliever to throw in that spot other than that, so you don't lose points. So that's pretty much that slate. Then the night slate, you have Minnesota and Cleveland, Seattle and Houston, and Texas and Los Angeles Angels. I think pitching wise, you're going to definitely, Lance McCullers is going to be your number one. He's the clear cut one on that slate. Bailey Uber, I think, would be my SP2. I know Cleveland's been better recently, but he's a righty. He's really good against righties. They're mostly a right-handed lineup with just a couple one-offs there, like Bradley and Zimmer. And if they hit one home run against him, so be it. I think, he's had like 20 DK points in most of his games recently. I think he's got a great win equity too, because Logan Allen has not been good. So Bats, I'm definitely stacking Houston, and I'm going to take some Minnesota one-offs because they're pretty cheap. If not, I'll sprinkle in some of the cheaper plays too from Texas and the Angels, because you have AJ, Lexi, and Barrios, who aren't bad pitchers but not great pitchers. So I think you can find some hitters there that are in a good situation that are relatively cheap. So that's what we have. Again, enjoy Labor Day. Hope you have some nice weather and have some good time to enjoy and relax before school and everything starts back up again tomorrow. we have 4 more weeks of baseball. This Monday usually kicks off the baseball week, so we'll be continuing to cover through September and then into the playoffs. And I know NFL starts on Thursday and there's so many other things coming up, but we'll be keep on grinding baseball. And I think you start to get an advantage here, especially on Sundays and days where other people are focused on other slates and other sports. Really, if we continue to grind away and pay attention day to day and know who's hot and what the trends are and what the situations are, there's definitely a chance to make some decent money. Hopefully the prize pools don't start shrinking away to nothing on DK like sometimes they do towards the end of the season. So thanks again for watching. I'm Regular31. You can reach out to me on Twitter at Regular31 or leave some comments below. Give us a like, subscribe to our videos so you know when they're coming out, and good luck today.